So would you be interested if they asked you?
Oh, of course I'd be interested. I mean, it's such a huge part of my life now. It's not something I'll walk away from without a great deal of thought.
Right, so if they ask you, you're inclined to say that you're...
I think it's a conversation I'll probably have with my agent first, rather than you, Simon. You know, much as I like you, I think maybe now's not the moment to... But no, of course, it would be a great honour to be asked back. But we'll see. How things pan out.
Has there been any point, David, in your tenure as Doctor Who that clearly you have become public property, which is why when you look through the glass in your studio, you'll see assorted members of my family.
Sure.
Ogling. I mean, there comes a point where people feel as though they're a part of Doctor Who. It's almost like we own shares. We are, as the government would say, we're stakeholders. We kind of have a right to know about your life, and there must come a point where you go, actually, you know what? You don't.
Well, I think there is always a differentiation between your life as a public figure and your life as a private figure. And frankly, my private life is dull, so it's not something I'm ever going to inflict on people. But I mean, there's a balance, I think, to be struck. But I think as an actor as well, it's worth preserving a little bit of mystery about what kind of underpants you wear or whatever. Simply because if too much is transparent about you, it makes it harder for people to accept you as different characters, I think.
So I can't ask you about the underwear. I'll just cross that one.
You can't ask me about the underwear now.
And how does Doctor Who being sold around the world, as far as you're aware, David? Is it big in the States? What do they make of it around the world?
It's in the States. It's fairly cult, I think. It's on the Sci-Fi Channel and it's on BBC America, which are two sort of well respected but fairly respected channels, but with fairly low viewer figures, I believe. We're bigger in Canada, New Zealand, Australia. We're quite big there. Korea, we're quite big in. And I couldn't quite keep track of everywhere else, but yeah, it's certainly around the world. But as I've been working everywhere in Cardiff for the last 3 years, that hasn't really impacted on my life.
When you get asked to do a programme like Who Do You Think You Are, which is an extraordinary series, it's what's been very interesting about it is in watching you and pretty much everyone else who does that, there are clear moments of discomfort when you find facts about your family, as we all would, which you go, right, that doesn't fit the way I thought my life was. How uncomfortable was that at times?
It was a fascinating experience, but they, as I'm sure you know, they genuinely don't. They know what story the programme's going to tell, but they do spring these surprises on you live on camera. So it's an experience I'm very glad I had, and it's great to have that information about your family, and it makes you question some of your own prejudices as well, I think, and sort of I found out that my only a few generations back, my part of my family was involved in the troubles in Northern Ireland to a greater or lesser extent, and
he was in the Orange. Was it your maternal great grandfather?
That's right. Yeah. Was a member of the
Orange Order,
Derry City Council. They were all in the Orange Order. Yeah, and was a member of the Derry City Council and did some fairly dodgy things. There was a bit of gerrymandering that went on under his watch, but at the same time, he also did some incredibly humanitarian things as a member of that council. So he was obviously an interesting and confusing figure,
It's just an extraordinary idea, and when you see people confronting the kind of the messiness of their family, it's always quite an intriguing one. You didn't find it too intrusive. I mean, clearly you've agreed to do it, but was there any point where you thought, actually, I'd rather not have done this?
It was, well, like you say, it was an interesting experience. I had to examine my own opinion about things more than I'd imagined I had. I mean, I bowled into it quite blithely, I think, thinking, this will be fun to find out about dead relatives. And it's interesting what kind of emotional attachments you make to people that you will never know, and how involved you get as you start discovering about them, and you sort of stare at pictures of these people whose genes you've inherited. Yes. and it's odd. You want to imagine they'd be proud of you. You want to imagine that you'd like them and that they'd like you, and these are people that you will never have any contact with. It's a fascinating experience, and very full of quite conflicting emotions, I think.
And as you plan, we've teased just a little bit out for the next 18 months. Any more temptations to direct? You've done some behind the scenes stuff before on spin-off material. Do you fancy directing, helming, as I believe it's known?
I think at some point maybe I would. Yeah, I imagine, and again because I sort of think of it as my main job, I imagine I would probably first direct in the theatre. Just because I kind of get all of that, whereas directing on screen, I'm not quite up to speed on quite which lens size does what. I mean, I'm getting better as the years go by, but it's there's a lot more to understand, whereas the theatre's quite a kind of hands-on world that I feel like I get. So I might, but it's just finding the right moment, and it's finding someone who wants you to do it as well.
Yes.
So, and also, if nice acting things come in, then I'm going to say yes to them. So one's diary tends to fill up.
A final point about the new series, David. A new monster to intrigue us. Any you can let us know about?
Well, week 1 this Saturday, 6:20. Remember that, 6:20 viewers. It's on
Is it 6:20?
Slightly unusual time for the first couple of weeks. I think we get into a bit more of traditional time after that. But yes, it's 6:20 this Saturday. So make sure you're back from the shops nice and early. You have the adipose, which are probably the cutest monsters we've ever had in Doctor Who. And frankly, they're not really monsters. They're kind of... Well, they're very blameless. Sarah Lancashire plays the nasty of the week.
Right, so they're cute and blameless. I asked you for monsters, and you've told me about teddy bears.
Okay, all right.
Something scary.
Give me a minute.
Something that's going to make people
the
dive behind the
Paravillians
sofa.
in week 2, which are a computer-generated creation, which are quite extraordinary. Literally, they take your breath away.
Right.
Yeah?
That's the Pompeii episode.
That's the Pompeii episode.
So never mind the ash descending from the sky. Never mind the lava that's coming your way. Look out for that. What do you call them?
Well, the Paravillians.
The Paravillians.
Well, the people of Pompeii are turning to stone before the volcano explodes. What's that about? I ask you, Simon.
I've got absolutely no idea. I was hoping you might be able to
answer.
answer.
Need to tune in and find out.
Many questions yet to be answered in the new series of Doctor Who, which I think starts, if my memory serves me well, 6:20.
6:20 this Saturday.
6:20.
That's the time I'd find myself in front of a television. I don't know about you.
David, you're a very fine man. I appreciate you talking to us today. Thanks very much.
It's a pleasure as always. Thank you, Simon.